And we will also make it available to folks who were not able to make it today. So with that being said, I think we'll move right in. The other thing just to keep in mind as we get started that we will be using the chat area. If you have any questions or want to provide any comments or things and you don't want to unmute and share those things in the space, feel free to use the chat area. As you have questions, we might ask you to hold those as we move through our content today, because we might be covering some of those things later on throughout our time together. So on that note, hoping everybody can see our welcome slide here, and we're going to move forward just to jump right in. We've got a lot to cover. We've only got an hour together. So this session will move kind of fast, and we will be sure to provide you with links and information and follow up to this event. So toward the end of the day, you'll receive a copy of the PowerPoint. You'll also get a link to the recording so that you can refer back to that if you'd like to. Excuse me. All right. This is the very first network update meeting. So this is, you guys are actually not the very first. We held one this morning. So you're actually the very second, but you'll have the same content as our morning folks. But hopefully we have done some quality improvements since this morning. So your experience should be improved from those that were on this morning. So our hope is that we're providing information and updates that are helpful to you as network members, to keep you connected and to keep you updated on what's happening, and that you'll let us know if you have questions as we go throughout that. We'll likely hold these kinds of meetings on a quarterly basis and provide invites like we have for this one. So today we're going to be a little bit operations focused. So we're going to talk a little bit about the network, what it is, how it functions, that kind of stuff, simply because there were a lot of questions and comments in the registration survey that indicated that that would be helpful. So we're going to include some of that information as well. All right. So first, I want to just let you know who's on the call for our network staff team. So this is our small but mighty team. So we have, these folks are on the call today. They're going to be helping with some of the facilitation. They'll be presenting some of the content. And so you'll get to meet them as we move throughout the day. We're here for an hour. It won't be a whole day, I promise. All right. So really hoping to hear who's here. And I'm going to turn it over to Amy. She's going to just lead us through a little activity.
I will, yep. So my name is Amy Forrest, for those of you who don't know me, and I am one of the consultants for the Jackson Collaborative Network. And we're excited you're all here today. This is kind of like Sherry said, a kickoff to our updates. We've had a lot of questions about what we're doing and where we're going, so we're excited. We do only have an hour, sadly, not a whole day. But we're gonna ask if you guys could just take a moment and type your name into the chat and the organization that you're with. That would be really helpful so that folks can see who's on the call, and feel free to type chat throughout the day or throughout the hour. And if you want to connect with other folks that are on the call, you can do a private message to individuals, or you can do it to all. But we're excited to have you on and want to hear from everyone that's on the line. So just take a minute to do that so we can see who's here. Yeah, lots of folks.
All right, well, feel free to keep an eye on the chat, and we'll keep moving forward so we make good use of the time we have together. So our agenda today, and again, we're not here all day, we have a short period of time, but our agenda today is we're gonna talk a little bit about the Jackson Collaborative Network, just get really clear on what is the network, what is it designed to do, what are the pieces and parts of the network, how do they fit together and interact with each other. And then we'll talk more about the services and supports that the staff team provides and how you can access those supports. We're also going to share some information about where we've been and where we're headed as a network, and what to expect and what's coming up next. So hopefully we'll get through that pretty painlessly. So here we go. All right. So this seems like a silly question. You know, we're years into our network structure where we've been doing this collaborative work in the community for a really long time. But what is the Jackson Collaborative Network? The reason why we've included this as a starting point is to really just address, we hear many different answers to this question. So depending on how well you're connected in the network, where you've been involved in the past, there are lots of different ideas about what the network is. So we wanted to start there and just talk about what it is, and then we'll go into what it's designed to do. So before we can really talk about what our network is, we have to acknowledge where we've been. So many of you that have been around for a little while and been partnered with us in this work for a while, um, remember the organization, not the organizations, I'm sorry, the groups that we had in place before and the network structure that was in place prior to 2020. So we had a health improvement organization, coordinating council, and action teams. We had an education focused network. We had a financial stability network. We also had a collaborative council. And so those four entities really included upwards of 400 to 500 people at any given time. And each of those different entities met independently, had their own governance structures, had dedicated staff and resources, and they were somewhat coordinated, but not very well connected. Um, and so that network structure, as we've grown and changed over time, early in 2020, we went through a transformation. We actually integrated our four different strands of work, integrated that into the Jackson Collaborative Network that you are a part of today. So I think I'll end there. That could be a whole session on its own. So just want to acknowledge where we've been and that many of you have been a part of the network in the past in different ways. So I'm again going to ask for Amy's help because she's the queen at doing these little activities during the meetings. So,
I don't know about queen, but
well, okay.
I think it's kind of fun, and I love to hear from where folks are at. So we're going to try to do what's called annotate, which is a really fancy word for stamping on the PowerPoint. So you'll see kind of a demonstration here, the arrow on the right-hand side. If you click on the annotate button, you may actually have view options on the top of your screen also. So if you click on view options and move your cursor down to annotate, it'll bring that long bar beneath it up. Then you go to the fifth one in where that second arrow is, and you'll see stamp. If you click on that, you can choose the stamp of your liking, and we're gonna stamp on the next slide. Also, keep in mind on the right-hand side when you're done stamping, there's a little tiny X on the right-hand side of that bar, and that's what you want to do to stop yourself from stamping. So if we all want to go to annotate, I'm going to actually start out by clearing it just for a minute. Okay, so let's put a stamp where you've been involved in the network, either up to this point or now. So if you've been involved in several action groups, feel free to stamp multiple stamps. So say you're in the HIO and you've been involved in multiple different hat teams, go ahead and stamp multiple stamps on there. And if you're new to the network, feel free to stamp on the Jackson Collaborative Network circle on the right-hand side. So let's see where folks have been involved. Okay, looks like we have a pretty good distribution. The Health Improvement Organization has folks, I think often in the Health Improvement Organization, we had folks that were in multiple action teams. So it
I
might,
think not cutting you off, but am
no,
I clicking it right? But I've been with the financial stability
okay.
and all, okay,
I
and
will pop a
also,
heart in there just to make sure that you're represented in that.
okay,
Awesome, thank
and
you.
also, well, that covered many, also the expungement
Yeah,
group, that was with that,
fantastic work that was
and
there.
also with the censors with Regina
Yeah,
Pitney.
Mhm.
fantastic,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, and
All great work.
okay,
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Yeah,
all
so
right.
that's
I'm trying to
fantastic.
click.
Okay. Well, I popped one in financial stability just to make sure you're represented there. So that's
Okay,
fantastic. It looks like folks really are represented kind of all around in the different strands, and we're excited that you're here today and
thank
learn
you.
more about how we've kind of pulled things together to be one big Jackson Collaborative Network.
Great.
I will clear those out, remember to hit the red X on the right-hand side of that bar that you brought up, because that will stop you from stamping. Otherwise, we will stamp all the way through the presentation, which kind of might be fun to do to Sherry, but I think we won't.
Got to keep me on my toes. All right. So getting back to the what is the network? So, what is the Jackson Collaborative Network? I think the easiest way to describe that is that the network is all of us. It is all of us together. So everyone on this phone call, but also everyone in our community that's working together to improve lives in our community and make it a safe, healthy, thriving Jackson.
Would you stay down here?
So I am going to mute everyone, and so we'll just ask that you unmute when you'd like to share. So in addition to being all of us, it is Jackson's Collective Impact Network. So we're going to share a little, share a little bit more about what is collective impact in a minute. We are a multi-sector partnership, which means that we bring together partners from all over the community, from different sectors, business, education. We've got folks from health and human services, from all different kinds of organizations. We also have community members, and our network is also systems change
I cannot
focused.
see why you cannot sit there for 40 minutes.
So we are also united by common values. So I put our values over here. So equity, authentic engagement, and continuous learning. For those of you that have been around for a little while, those won't look new to you. We've been talking about those for quite a while. And we're also united by shared priorities. And so when we talk about shared priorities, we're really referring to our shared measurement system. And so that shared measurement system, we'll do a quick overview of that here in a minute. Right. And I did forget to mention, we are going to have some time for Q&A, so questions throughout. So we'll pause at different places throughout our presentation today so that we can have some conversation and you'll have time to ask questions and get any clarification that's needed. All right. For those of you that might be joining via phone, we do have a set of slides. We will share them out afterwards. Apologies that you're not able to see that. So network purpose. So what is the purpose of our network? This really gets to like, what is our network designed to do? So our network is really designed to support our partners. So that's all of you and all of the rest of the partners that are not with us today. But to really support you in taking action on our shared priorities so that we're actually working together to change the experiences of our community members and actually improving outcomes. So, at the very heart of it, our network exists to help support you in taking action to address those inequities that are present in our community. I'm going to keep moving forward because we have a pause coming up in just a moment. So I'm going to turn it over to Sarah at this point, and she's going to give you a little Collective Impact 101.
Yeah, so I am just here to give a quick overview on collective impact. This is the model and framework that our network uses. It really is a way of organizing and aligning the work of a lot of people and partners and organizations around a shared goal and priority. So it takes all of the individual amazing things that are happening in the community and brings it together to find out how can we do this work together better so we're not duplicating efforts, so we can decide on what are priorities we really want to focus our energies on. It tends to be messy and maybe not super cut and dry and clean. But the end result is potential for greater movement in the community and in systems work, and really having this shared goals, objectives, and measurements, and all of these things that a large group of people bring together and agree that these things are important to all of us, and how are we going to work together, all of us together, to move the needle forward. So we take all of our, a good amount of our information from the Collective Impact Forum. The elements are listed here: common agenda, shared measurement system, mutually reinforcing activities, continuous communication, and backbone infrastructure. Just know that we could talk all day about and have a whole training just on collective impact, but for the sake of time, we'll just refer you to the website at the bottom. And for those who are not able to see what we're referencing, the slides will have a link to the Collective Impact Forum, which is a site that has a ton of resources in really a wealth of information. They have like e-newsletters, and we find really valuable for a lot of reasons, but this is really the model that we use at the network to help us work together and move the work forward.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. All right. And so I think Alexa's going to, I'm sorry, it's Amy actually. The
I'm going to
other
jump in
way.
here.
Yes, Amy's going to talk to us a little bit about our shared measurement system.
Yes, so this is our shared measurement system framework. This is basically designed to make sure that we have our goals, clarifies our goals, creates accountability for change, organizes us for impact, and guides our strategy design. So basically, this was designed primarily in 2018 and 19. It was a culmination of the work of all of network partners. So all of the many action teams and system scan information that we received in community members' input, we combined a series of root cause targets or system change targets, root cause priorities. So it basically showed all of the barriers and issues that folks were having in our community. And this is a way to kind of organize that information and track and measure how we are achieving successes in that. So our vision is that we're healthy, safe, and thriving. We are just, engaged, and continuously learning our values. And basically the top 3 tiers are how we're behaving as a network and where we're looking to be, and things that we're looking to achieve. And the bottom goals are really where the work is happening in our network. And that's what we're really looking to track and measure. As organizations are aligning action or building action plans, and as they inform us of those action plans, we're able to track and measure that and make sure we're really moving the needle on issues in our community. So the more we hear about the action planning that's happening in your organization, the better we are able to align the work. And moving forward, we'll really be able to connect people in that way. So if we find that there are folks in different agencies that are all working on a particular root cause priority, they might be doing their own work in their organizations, but if we notice that we have 3 or 4 or 5 people that are really working towards, say, identifying inequitable policies or procedures in their organization, when we hear about that and we have measurements on that, we're able to connect you as network partners so that you can build on each other's experiences and you can kind of work together to make the action more powerful. So we love to hear from you. We really want to make sure that you're reaching out to us for those measures, so that we don't want to keep working and not moving needles. We want to make sure that we're being effective in the work that we're doing. So we welcome you guys to reach out to us, to update your action plans, to make sure that we're hearing about what's going on so we can make those connections and share the successes with our network.
Amy, I wanted to just make a comment. In the registration survey for the event registration, we actually had some comments about how are we tracking and measuring progress, how are we, what are the priorities, what are the goals. So I just wanted to make sure to call that out, that our shared measurement system really does define all of that for the network. And so if there were another layer below the goals, you would actually see some of the key indicators that we're tracking and that we're gathering data on, and eventually coming to have like a public facing dashboard. So
we do. And this is really just a quick snapshot of what it looks like as a pyramid and kind of as the way we behave as a network. But also on our website, we have a lot of information about our shared measurement system, which kind of shows the different root cause priorities and the system change targets. So we welcome you to connect there to learn more about what it means and how we're measuring things and indicators and things like that. So yeah, good question. And with that, we're also going to take a pause and just kind of find out where y'all at. Are there questions that have come up to this point in the things that we've shared with you, either on some of the models, some of the network happenings, or even the way the new network is behaving? Feel free to unmute yourself or type something into the chat. We really want to hear from you. We want to make sure that you're understanding kind of where we're at and the goals that we're trying to achieve. Don't let it be crickets, people. Maybe they're all typing in the chat at the same time. Okay, well, we can move on. We will have more opportunities to open it up for questions and answers um, during the presentation as well as at the end. Hopefully we'll have time for that too. So, and there's always opportunity to reach out to any of our network staff to ask questions. So this is not the one and done. If you're kind of trying to form your question and it's not coming out, get in touch with us after.
All right, great. So let's move into the pieces and the parts of the network. So we've got really clear about what the network is and what the purpose of the network is. And now we're going to talk about the network structure. So as I mentioned earlier this year, we did actually go through a change, and that network model looks different. The way in which we behave, the services and supports that are provided are different. The way that people come together around the work are different. So we'll step through that, and then we'll pause for questions again once we get through that content. So this is a really quick look at what the network model looks like. So at the bottom, you have the network council and staff activities. So the next slide actually goes into what is the network council and those other pieces. But the network council and staff are really about building capacity and about supporting alignment within our network and helping make systems change work possible by laying that foundation and making sure that there are resources in place, that we're using those resources effectively. There's training and support for our partners. The next step up is that collaborative action and learning space. Activities in that space include coming together for collaborative problem solving. This is like where Amy mentioned, the bringing together of partners that might be working on similar things. So the providing opportunities for people to share and learn with each other, being able to come together and identify different resources and things like that happens in that collaborative space. And then at the top of it's not really a ladder here, but at the top of the slide, you will see organization and partner activities. So this is where work actually shifts within your organization to align around shared priorities and shared goals, but you're actually leading systems change work within your organization, and you're actually changing the way you do what you do to better meet the needs of those you're serving. So this top block of activities there, that's actually where systems change happens. When we actually shift what we do and how we do it to produce better outcomes for those we serve, that's when work gets sustainable, and that's where we actually have the most impact on outcomes. So that's ultimately we're working to support more and more activities to be happening in those spaces so that we're driving change in the community. All right, this is another way to just look at the pieces and parts. So we have our network staff team. So you saw our pictures at the beginning. We're a small team that provides a very specific set of services and supports, and that is all designed to help build your capacity to engage in and lead systems change work. So we provide a lot of training and things like that. You'll hear about those things in a few minutes. Our network council is a small group. We have about 30 people that serve on that council. Those are network members that serve on the council and kind of represent the rest of the network structure. But they're really in place to help support the backbone of the organization. So that backbone infrastructure, it's a term that we use in collective impact. It's really about that core infrastructure that helps make the rest of the work possible. Our network members, that's all of you. That's everyone that's part of our network. You're part of Jackson's system of care. So I like to define that because sometimes when you say care, people immediately think healthcare. And so when I say system of care, it's really all of the things that contribute to somebody being, to someone's overall health and well-being. So those are things like education, employment, transportation, food access, human services, all of those things that contribute to a person's ability to survive, to succeed, those types of things. And as network members, you're part of that system of care because you also employ residents, and or you're providing services or supports for residents that live here. So you're an actor in the system of care here in Jackson. And then our community members are residents that are experiencing that system of care. And so as a network, we believe very highly that authentic engagement is just a key element of our work, and that making sure we constantly are checking in to see, you know, who's doing well, who's not experiencing the same outcomes as others. And part of that is making sure that we're building relationships with our community residents and really listening and hearing about their experiences, because that input is very valuable in helping us to drive change in the community. Right, this is just another way to look at that, but it really just shows the relationship between the various partners and between the various parts in our network. And so community members are really at the center. They are, as I said, experiencing that system of care. Members and partners really are that system of care. Our network council members are a member of the network member and partner group too. So it's almost like a sub group of that. But the network council is really providing that guidance and support. The council is not in charge of the network. The council is not deciding on what actions are being taken, nor are they the ones designing and implementing strategies to address community issues. The council's in place to really support the rest of the network and to make sure the right things are in place to support your work. And then I think I've spent enough time talking about the staff team. We're going to spend a little bit more time on that in a minute. So.
Yes, so now we're going to take a pause for some questions, if anybody has anything, before we move on to services and supports provided by the network. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or type them in the chat. So any questions or clarification on things that we've covered so far, different pieces of the network? I think we have crickets again, Amy.
I am practicing my silently waiting. I shared earlier in the session this morning, I am not good with awkward silence. So
have to sit in the silence.
I know. All right. Okay. Well, we'll keep going because there's actually, a lot more that we wanted to cover, some of the foundational pieces, and then we'll actually be talking more about accomplishments and wanting to hear from you as well on what you feel we've accomplished together, and getting some input there. So let's keep moving through our slides. All right, so in the registration survey, there were quite a few questions about what are the things that the network provides, what do I have access to as a member, how would I actually go about accessing those things, who do I call, those kinds of things. So I'm going to give a really quick overview, and then each of our network team members are going to share a little bit more about those services so that you can learn more about those. So since the beginning of this year, so when we went through our shift in network structure and have begun working in our new network model, we've been providing these services. So coaching, training, and technical assistance, that's a big core part of our work. Amy and Sarah will talk much more about that, so I'll just skip over that. Data and information management, so making sure you have access to information and data to help you make decisions, track and report progress. And then also communication efforts related to supporting continuous communication and information sharing, helping us build relationships and build awareness and those types of things. So let's go into the coaching and TA first. Amy or Sarah, who's going to jump in first?
I'll start us off, and then Amy can fill in because that's what we do. So this slide is full of a lot of things, important things, but really the coaching and technical assistance piece is really just a way for us to walk with you through some maybe not all heavy, but like systems work can be heavy and tough and maybe difficult where to start. And Amy and I get the great job of doing this work with you all and building relationships with you all and doing it together. It looks a lot of different ways. We have both universal supports, which look like learning convenings and um, different ways we've been thinking about, like maybe on discussion forums, different ways we can connect and with members and members to members, but also offerings that are available to all members. And then also the targeted coaching um, that, Amy, do you want to talk a little bit about the targeted coaching piece?
Sure. Yeah. So as Sarah mentioned, you'll see us kind of show up in a lot of different ways. So the targeted coaching is really one-on-one coaching that we would work with you. We would kind of come to an agreement. Basically, everyone asks, how does this work? If you've got an issue that you're working on in your organization, you say you started looking at data and you kind of disaggregated it, and then you don't know what the next step might be, or how do you align that with, say, what the network is doing. Reach out to us. There are multiple ways you can reach out to us. You can reach out to us on our website, on our Facebook page, via email. There's the information hub for the network. So any of those many ways, you just contact Sarah or myself and with the problem that you're kind of encountering, and we will let you know. Yes, we can work, enter into a one-on-one. It's free of charge. I should mention that for now, right? No, it's we are available. It's free of charge, but yeah, it's like Sarah mentioned, system work is really messy. So if you're working through action planning or strategy planning and you want to make sure that it aligns with network priorities, and you might be stuck in a piece where, say, I'm struggling to engage a certain population. Do you guys have tools? It could be a one-touch thing. You could call up and say, I don't know how to engage this particular population, and Sarah and I can help you with particular tools to do that or ways to do that. Or it could be a process. It could be, you could be really encountering a deep issue and you want to kind of work through the full learning process, where you're looking at data and um, understanding the root causes, like what's really the issue, and then building strategies and getting input and things like that. So we could meet once, twice, 3 times, and you feel like you've got what you need. We could meet biweekly over a couple of months. It really depends on the issue that you're working on and the problem that you're solving. But we are available. Like I said, it could be I need a tool, and it could be I need your support kind of working through this issue. So
And
yeah,
it's a
that's
piece.
basically 2 ways. You'll see us on a month. Go ahead, what?
Oh, no, I was going to say, and it's helpful too, because as the network infrastructure has changed and shifted, and a lot of people were used to work groups, and they were used to coming together and talking about maybe their plans, like, oh, I'm working on this thing in my organization, and I'm working on this thing, and right, there were varied successes of work that was happening. And so by moving this work to a systems change model, it might feel a little overwhelming for people to be like, well, now what? Like, what do I do with the thing? How do I start? How do I keep going? And so really, this is a great opportunity. We really encourage conversation. It doesn't have to be like you have a plan in place before you reach out to us. Maybe it's just like, hey, I used to be a member of C2C and I was working on this thing, but like, I don't know where to go from here. Or, hey, I actually am new to the network, and in my organization, like, we're just looking for opportunities to help as we are moving towards the true systems level work, which is everyone doing this great work in their organizations. So yes, we could go on all day, and I won't, because I'm sure Sherry's giving me a silent, let's move along.
I'm going to interject one more time. This is really, because that's what I do. This is really how we can connect you to other players in the network. So we are moving away from coalitions and work groups that we had, but this is a way that if we see that there are 4 different organizations that are working on one particular root cause priority, we can make those connections with you, and you'll have that support within the network as well as the network staff to kind of move your work along and make it more powerful. Okay, I'm out.
Okay. So the last thing I would mention is kind of piggybacking on the thing Amy just said, is that, there may be opportunities where there are similar problems being worked on, where it makes sense to kind of put the call out to others who are working on a similar thing. to bring them together. And that would go back to that collaborative planning and learning space that we shared earlier. So there are opportunities where groups of people may come together around a similar problem or root cause priority, but it won't look exactly the same as what we've had before. And we also acknowledge that there are groups that have been in place for years, and will continue to do that work because they work well together. They like the way that the work is happening. They have a vision, they have a purpose, and that work will continue. And we have resources within the network to support your planning and your identification of strategies and things like that. All right, so Alexa, you are up next.
Sounds good. Thank you. So here to talk about data and information management. My main emphasis as the data and information specialist for the Jackson Collaborative Network is to make sure that members have access to data that helps them drive action and accountability. One of the key elements of the network's data collection and reporting efforts is the Collaborative Community Assessment. The Collaborative Community Assessment is a formal process that occurs every 3 years and includes 3 components. A phone survey of Jackson County residents to gather data on social determinants of health in alignment with the shared measurement system framework. The phone survey is supported by Henry Ford Allegiance Health, Center for Family Health, and the Jackson County Health Department. You'll receive information in a follow-up email about the survey that will begin in January. Second, an analysis of comparison data from a variety of sources, such as the census. And third, qualitative data gathered from residents to better understand community conditions and root causes. The network publishes a collaborative community assessment report to make data from the assessment available to you. The purpose of this report is to provide you with data on the community conditions specific to the shared measurement system framework so that you can identify issues and determine priorities for action within your organization and within the community. You can find more information about the shared measurement system as well as the collaborative community assessment on the network website. On this slide, I've provided 2 links, one specifically to the shared measurement system page, and then one is for the collaborative community assessment page. Another way that the network supports data and information management is supporting partners to align their actions around shared measurement system goals and priorities. The Network Information System, which you may know this as the Network Information Hub, provides the infrastructure for this alignment. As members create and implement action plans that are aligned with the shared measurement system goals and root cause priorities, members can track and report progress along with using the Network Information Hub. So this all allows us to have a better understanding of the work that's happening and how it's actually contributing to desired outcomes. Collectively tracking and reporting progress is key to measuring progress on our shared priorities. So with that, I will pass things back to Sherry.
I will unmute myself so you can actually hear what I'm saying. Thank you, Alexa. All right. So next, I'm just going to quickly touch on the communications and information sharing pieces. So prior to our shift, so prior to 2020, the primary way we came together and actually the primary way we shared information with each other was in coming together around meetings. So either staff would attend a variety of meetings, you as members would attend a variety of meetings, and we would update each other and share information that way. Because we're dedicating resources in different ways now, we put some communications tools in place. So we have, of course, our Network Information Hub. You'll get a link to that in follow-up to this meeting if you're not familiar with it. We have a network newsletter that you should be getting in your inbox, and that's our primary way of sharing information to all of our network membership. So being able to share articles and research and bright spots from other network members, updates on what's happening within our systems change strategies. So that's something to watch for. And if you're not getting that e-newsletter, please get in touch with one of us because we want to problem solve that with you because that's one of our main communication vehicles. So then we have our network website. So the website, again, public facing, it's a great place to send people to share information about the network, help them kind of learn more about it. We also have our Facebook page and our networking and update events. So this is one of the update events. And we'd love to hear from you on how these tools are working for you, what you like about them, what you don't. For the networking piece, some of that networking happens within our TA events. You're able to connect with others. And some of that networking you might have, we might have opportunities to have a virtual happy hour, or, hopefully someday we'll do that in person. So that those are some of the things that we do to help support that networking. I'm going to pause for Q&A. Yeah, so I don't know, Sarah, you want to take it from there?
This is mine, yes. So we'll just stop here again to see if anyone has any other questions about any of the content we have covered, roles or what else did we talk about since the last Q&A? Any of the things we talked about so far today? Oh, yes, hello.
Hi, it's Sarah Benedetto. How are you guys?
Hi,
Sarah.
Sarah.
Okay.
Hi. I just have a question. Can you, this has been helpful, you're talking about your different roles. Is there any example that you could give right now where you've been working with an organization, people in an organization or community members on reaching goals and talking about, just can you give an example of something?
Yes. Would you like me to give this example, Amy?
Sure.
Yes, we can. So I'll use this example. So we have a community member who is with an organization, and they were looking to gain skills and knowledge around helping to move. They were in charge of a group that was having trouble moving from kind of an action programming mindset into a systems mindset. They were looking to gain understanding and tools around how to move the group in that direction. So Amy and I together have been working with this person to both with some links also, but like it resulted in like there were we did some calls with them. Really the frequency was depending on like how they've best felt supported, but it really is less about like creating agendas or running a meeting. It really is how can we tie it to a root cause that like the network has identified. Like Amy, I know, likes to use the very prevalent one of like trust, mistrust between community members or providers between each other, et cetera. And so like if there's I have a hard time believing that we can't connect, right? Like a desire or a problem or a something that you're working on, and like how can we tie it to something that like as a network priority, and then how can we help you work through it? So it really does have this intent of an empowering factor, so that like you're gaining a thing or a skill, or like if we send you, say for example, the Collective Impact Forum site that we referenced before, like say for example, Sarah, you were like, I'm really having trouble understanding collective impact. You could be like, oh, thank you for asking. Here's the resource that we use and that we love. And that hopefully after that transaction happens, your knowledge of collective impact would increase without me having to teach you, right? Because like, I'm not an expert, I'm just good at finding resources or good at finding people who are experts. And so there definitely is an empowering piece of it. And there's also been some, pretty also tangible like examples like, oh, here's an example of what this community did. Or Amy, do you have anything you want to pipe in?
Yeah, no, I think you explained it really well. I think pretty much the key thing in our role is that when you've got an issue in your organization and you're like, we don't know what to do about this, we would walk alongside you and help you like think deeper and think about what are the root causes and look at, so it might be a front desk staff issue, or, you might be like, I can't get so-and-so to connect with, my clients, or not so-and-so, but my staff to connect, or I'm hearing this from my staff surveys. We would kind of walk you through that process of like, okay, what are you hearing? What's um, the trying to think of data that you have that supports that. Who do you need to reach out to really get more information? Kind of just walking you through the learning process and then working with you to build like an action plan around that. So if you've got something that's happening in your organization, we would kind of ask the right questions to get you to take the right steps, to make sure that you're really reaching the population you're reaching and creating that action plan that not only aligns with the network, but will help kind of get into the root causes of what you're attempting to accomplish. It's not a really specific example, but I always tell people, reach out, you know, and ask, and we'll let you know, yes, we can work with you on this, or we might just kind of say, yeah, well, it's not really in our realm, but so-and-so can, or this might, or, you know, if you're moving into this piece, we could step in, but if
There's,
there's ever questions, reach out, because we'll help you kind
I'm
of discern
going to
that.
have to do a time check, and I'm really sorry.
say-
'cause-
I was gonna say one more sentence and then I'll be done. I will say, like, also it's helpful. I think the example, we also had another member reach out and say like, hey, I'm interested in, can you come do authentic engagement training for my staff, right? And there's a piece of like, actually, that's not our expertise and not our thing, but like, let's talk about authentic engagement. Like, what do you mean? And where have you been? And what have you done since then? So like, we just really want to encourage the conversation piece. We would love to have that with you. And that, where we can work, how we can do it together, moving forward together.
Okay, I know we have a couple, we've just got, I think, 2 more slides of content, so I want to get to those, and then we'll pause again as we do wrap up to make sure we have time to address any additional questions. So thank you, team, for sharing on those things. So we did want to make time for some accomplishments. So this is really about what have we accomplished in the past year? And those were some questions that came up in the registration survey is, you know, what is it that, what progress have we made? What impact have we made? So as we reflected on that, these are the things that came to mind. I'm hoping they aren't too tiny. I was excited that there were so many of them that it got this small on a slide, but you'll be able to see these in the handouts a little better. But what I'd love to do as you're reading through this, and if you think of other things that you feel like we've been able to achieve collectively in our work in this past year, I would love to have you go ahead and share those either in the chat or unmute and share those with your peers. So as you're thinking about that and looking at the list, I'll just highlight a couple of the key ones. So our network is not its own organization. We are not our own 501c3. We exist solely because our community believes we should exist. And we have several funding partners that support that. We were able to secure our network fiduciary and employing entity earlier this year. And Henry Ford Allegiance Health serves in that place for us. So that was an exciting thing, a little more structure. We were able to form our council and kind of get their kind of business in order with a council charter and partnership agreements. We've been working on sustainability for the last couple of years, but we've recently been really focused on building and increasing our local investment. So we were able to, so far in 2020, raise an additional $10,000 for next year's budget, which is awesome. Clearly, we've filled our staff positions. We've also launched a bunch of communications things, so helping people feel plugged in. So want to pause for a minute and see if there's anyone else on the line that wants to share any accomplishments that you feel like we've collectively achieved this past year. All right. Okay, well, we'll keep moving then. So either we were excellent at pulling together the list or we're not missing anything. So, all right, let's move on. Okay, so what's next? So what's coming up? So here's what you can expect to be part of the network moving forward. So as Amy and Sarah already shared, they're hosting monthly learning convenings. So they're providing opportunities for folks to come together and learn and grow in their understanding together. That's a place you're going to want to watch for the e-newsletter. That's the place where we're going to share those invites. You're going to see registration details, so make sure you're watching that e-newsletter. Targeted coaching and consultation. So again, Amy and Sarah provide that on a ongoing basis. And if you're not sure, as they've already shared, like reach out. Their first conversation with you is about just better understanding what it is you're hoping to achieve, and then they work with you to design that plan. Action planning workshop. So this is pretty exciting. We've been building toward this all year, which is exciting to see it come to fruition. So in January, we're going to start hosting action planning workshops. So these will be small group sessions that are intended to help you get a start on your action plan. So by action plan, what we mean is taking a look at our shared priorities that are identified in that shared measurement system we talked about, and helping to identify what is it that you commit to working on within your organization or even collectively within the community, and what are those specific strategies that you'll be working on. So it's actually a live process. Amy and Sarah will be leading, quite a bit of that work. We're going to start with our council members because they're a smaller group. They're going to be our test case. They're going to help us refine our workshops before we launch them as part of our TA program. So you'll begin to have access to those workshops starting in February. And it will not be a one and done kind of thing. So you'll be able to join a workshop and get a start on things, do some work independently, or we can provide you with some coaching, and then we'll continue until you're feeling good about that action plan. Collaborative community assessment, just want to reiterate what Alexa said about it begins in January, and we need your help building awareness about that survey. So these are phone calls that are made to residents, and we need to have lots of awareness. So just look for some information to come out about that pretty soon. That'll be shared through the e-newsletter as well. Shared measurement system. We're going to be reaching out. You will probably hear from Alexa on this, but we'll be reaching out to get some input from our network members about some of the qualitative data needs that are present throughout our network related to our shared measurement system priorities. So those are some of the key things that you'll have coming up. And so on that note, I'm going to pause. We've got just a little over 5 minutes left. So I want to just open it up for conversation and sharing. We've got a lot of our members on the line, so feel free to share. Thank you.
Jerry?
Yes. Hi.
Jerry Booth. I'm a member of the board of the Jackson Health Network, and I see that Joe Maher and Sarah Benedetto are both on the line, and coming at you as a new visitor,
Okay.
and was interested in things primarily focused on health issues, but I was intrigued with the survey that you intend to do for the needs for the community, and wondered whether you had a close connection with Amy Schultz at the HIO and would be sharing in a routine way those kinds of results of that survey with her, so she can input to the Jackson Health Network as we deliberate with regards to working in that organization.
Absolutely. Very good question. So we left out a bunch of the history related to community assessment. So I'll put a little bit of that into the conversation, but the community health assessment used to take place led by Henry Ford Allegiance Health, probably way back in the Allegiance Health days, maybe even the Foot Hospital days, I'm not sure. But the community health assessment recently, about 4 years ago, we began making a shift to a more comprehensive assessment. And our assessment actually builds upon the community health assessment that Amy Schultz has helped build over the past several years. And she's one of our key partners within our network. So to your question, Jerry, absolutely, yes. Amy is very plugged in. She actually serves on our collaborative community assessment work group and serves as one of the chairs of that group. So absolutely. Yep.
Good. Thank you, Sherry.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. And nice to meet you. Other questions from the group or things that others would like to share because many of you have been involved in the network much longer than I have. So if there are other things that we've left out that you feel are important, please feel free to add those to the conversation.
Sherry, Martha York added a comment in the chat. I'm not sure if you saw it.
Oh, okay.
I think Martha, I'm not sure her pronouns. Martha added an accomplishment, I believe.
Okay. Martha, did you want to share that with the group or just leave it in the chat there? Either way is fine.
Oh, I can share it. I'm sorry, I hopped in a little bit later today, so I don't know if you already touched on this, but I felt like your efforts to get people to come together to attend the county commissioners meeting, that was really significant to have so many people come and share voice, asking for some systems change, asking for recognition of racism as a public health crisis. And even though the outcome didn't result the way I think everyone who voiced it wanted it to, I think that the effort was important and that messaging, and I wouldn't have been able to be aware of that opportunity had it not been for your messaging to all of us. So thank you for that. I really appreciated being a part of that.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, I think not the outcome we all hoped for, but it did raise the issue.
Right.
And I would just call out, it's the connections we have with all of our members that helped us become aware of that opportunity. And then we were able to message with everyone. So that's another thing that we can do together is making sure we're sharing information on these key issues and concerns so that we're able to send out those calls when necessary. Because I think we're a powerful force when you think about 500 plus people from more than 120 organizations in our community. We can get some things done if we work together. So great. And good to see you, Martha. Have not seen you in a while.
Thank you. It's good to see you as well. And I want to add too that I still am chairing the Active Jackson Coalition, and I've made it clear that I keep wanting to keep on our agenda some systems change as we address accessibility for people to be accessing more physical activity in our community. We want things to be accessible for all, and we have to address some of the ways that our city is designed and some parts of the population who don't always have voice to say what their needs are. So we are continuing to work on addressing that in 2021 as well.
Great, great. And that brings up an excellent point. We love to highlight bright spots in our e-newsletter. So we actually have a person starting soon who will take on some of that communications work. So I am sure we'll be getting in touch with you, Martha, because I'd love to be able to highlight some of those successes.
Fantastic. Thanks. Would love it.
All right. Well, we are at 3:59 and we'll hang out for a few minutes, but I wanted to make sure to wrap up for those of you that need to get on to other things. So first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for joining us and taking an hour out of your day right before the holidays. I know schedules are packed. Here is our contact information for our network staff team. Feel free to get in touch with everybody, anyone on this list. And if you're not sure who to contact, we work very closely together. So any one of us would be the right person and we can put you in connection with the person you need. So final item of business would be to please give us some feedback about your experience today. Alexa was nice enough to put the SurveyMonkey link in the chat area. And this is just our typical meeting evaluation. But we really want to hear from you, how it went, what you might suggest we do differently next time, because we want this to be a helpful opportunity for you. So on that note, thank you so much, and happy to meet some new people, and really happy to see some of you that we haven't seen in a while. So thank you all, and I'm going to stop the recording, but we will hang out in case there are some questions. And don't forget to do your survey. Thank you so much.